Hey, patrons! Thanks for being a patron, and you should tell your friends to be patrons too. Eivind agreed to come on for a little bonus interview for you. And
Mm.
Eivind, we were talking a little bit about this cool pyramid thing you learned from Kristen, so I was wondering if you could tell us about it.
Yeah. So when I was going to circus school, Christian Vanvik was my teacher, and at one practice he showed me this, which I thought was really interesting. It's a juggling pyramid, as you could see here that I've written. So here you have different numbers with the x-axis representing the skill level, going from 0 to 10. And here at the y-axis, you have the amount of balls or clubs or rings, what you would like. This pyramid is with balls. From 3, which is here, till, for me, 12. And I've given myself here the 12 a 0 because I haven't done 12 yet. So that's where my pyramid stops. So you start with 3 balls. And then you think for yourself, what skill level am I at the moment? And you have to figure out, okay, if you have 3 balls completely solid, and you can maybe do some back crosses, you can maybe do some periods, then you're actually real good at 3 balls. You know, you have total control and you can do a lot of tricks. So then you should give yourself maybe a 7 or better. And then you go for 4 balls and then 5 and up. And if we look at 5 balls, you look at yourself and see, okay, yeah, I've done a 5 of 360. So yeah, so I'd say I'm better at 5 balls. But you can't give yourself a better, let's see, you can't say that you're better at 5 balls than with 3 balls, because you're not. Think about it this way, that if the best thing you can do with 3 balls is a 3 of 360, and the best thing you can do with 5 balls is a 5 of 360, you are equally good at 5 balls as 3 balls, okay? So if you can do a 3 ball 3 of 360 with 3, and you can do a 7 ball 7 of 360 with 7, and this is both the best thing you could do with those numbers, you're equally good, okay? So that's kind of the baseline for this pyramid. So then, of course, the pyramid is going to, start wide and go and become smaller and smaller, because or else it would be like, okay, I'm a good 7 ball juggler, so I give myself a good a high number, but I'm not good with 3, so it goes in, and then it wouldn't really be a pyramid. Yeah, so basically you just write down everything, and the last thing you write down is the amount of balls or clubs or rings that you haven't done yet, and that's where the pyramid is going to stop. So this is what my pyramid looks like. So I started, when I wrote down now, I start at an 8 with 3 balls. And then with 4 and 5, I have 7. And with 6, I have a 6. And with 7 at 5. And with 8 and 9 at 3. And so on and so on. So, so what does your pyramid look like? That's kind of the topic here. So here I have written down drawn two different pyramids.
Can you
So
guess who they are?
yeah, could you guess who they are?
Probably not.
Yeah. So so this pyramid is for a 3-ball juggler, a juggler that does a lot of 3 balls and probably 4 balls as well, because you can see he is really skilled at 4 balls. It's really wide. But then when it comes to 5 balls, it's not that good. And when it's 6, it's not good at all. And with 7, he haven't done it yet. Okay? But here, you have a numbers juggling guy. Okay? The only thing he cares about is getting those high numbers. So he's not exploring anything. He's not getting a wider foundation of his skill level. And he's just pushing the limits. So that makes his pyramid really small, compared to this guy who doesn't push his limits in terms of numbers, and he gets a really wide pyramid. So if you're going to have a balanced pyramid, it's going to be kind of as wide as it is high. That's kind of the point. Then you're kind of equally skilled in amount of balls you've done compared to the how much what your skill level is with those amount of balls.
Right.
Yeah,
No, I
if
think
that
that's
makes
awesome.
sense.
I think it's a really cool way to kind of visualize your progress,
Yeah,
and to set a goal. Um, and just, I think it'd be cool to line up a bunch of different jugglers, um,
yeah,
with that pyramid. Um, One thing I was thinking about as you were showing that pyramid is that for each juggler, the amount of balls that they can juggle, or like the top of their pyramid, is different. And it made me kind of wonder if numbers juggling can be subjective at all, if it's different from one person to another person.
Yeah, it could. So what really is numbers? Numbers in general is um, a really high a really high number of balls or clubs or rings, which is so high that you really can't control it for that long. So in that case, it's subjective. I would separate numbers in two different categories, which is low numbers and high numbers, where high numbers are numbers where you really don't have any control. So 8 clubs plus um, 10 rings, maybe 11 rings plus, and 10 balls plus. Because with those numbers, no one can really do any trick at all. They don't have the control, and then they can just do a pirouette and continue, and maybe do some half shower. That's basically impossible with that many balls, clubs, and rings. But then you could say, okay, but low numbers, that could probably be 6 clubs plus, because then you can't really do as much as you can with 5 clubs and lower. You don't have that much freedom. And also with balls, I would say 8 balls plus, because with 7 balls, jugglers can do a lot of stuff, but with 8, they can't. But a lot of jugglers have quite nice control over the pattern. And with rings, it would be the same. Also 8 clubs. No, 8 rings. Maybe with clubs, I should say 7, because there are a lot of tricks that have been done with 6 clubs, but it's not really explored yet with 7. So yeah, it's a bit hard to tell. Yeah.
So you would say what high numbers juggling really just means the point where you can't like if I were to juggle 3 balls, I would know that I could do that forever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when you get to
In theory.
the point where you really can't foreseeably do it longer than you're physically able to, then that's numbers.
Yeah, but it also has to be a little bit objectively. You can't just say, okay, I'm a bad juggler, so for me 5 balls is numbers because I can barely flash 5 balls. Because everybody will say that 5 balls isn't numbers, but it comes to a point where you have to decide for yourself. But that would be a number which the general public won't be able to have control. Yeah.
Right. Cool. Something else Ivan wanted to talk about a little bit is how to hold clubs and how we all do that differently. Especially gets complicated when you're getting into like numbers with clubs. So Ivan, explain a little bit of what you think about that.
Yeah. So when we start out doing 3 clubs, and 4 clubs, we're only holding 2 in one hand, and there are basically 3 ways of doing this. You have the first club, and then you have the second club. You can choose to put it underneath the first club to get the circus grip. So we release this one. So this one first, and then this one. And then you can also choose to do the regular grip, as they call it, where you put it on top. And in general, for every single grip that you're going to do, the first club that you're going to throw is going to be the furthest away from you. That's a general rule. So if you're holding 5 clubs in one hand, the first club you throw is going to be the furthest away, So not here, but There, you can see that I pull it. And then the fourth club is going to be a little bit closer, a little bit closer, a little bit closer, until you eventually come to the last club. But yeah, this grip, the circus grip, the regular grip, and then the regular grip with a finger in between. So not a finger and a finger. Maybe some people have the circus grip with a finger in between, but I haven't really seen a lot of that. Yeah. So that's with 2 clubs. And then for 3 clubs, you have more options. You can build on all of those 4 grips. You can choose to have the regular grip without the finger, and then have a finger on the next one, or just have everyone like this, or you can choose to have it on top, or you can do some circus grips where you put it like this. This is quite normal one, or up on top here, or some versions with fingers in between. This is what Anthony Garrett does, actually. He has a circus grip here, and then he has only his pinky to hold the third one.
So many different ways to hold.
So many different ways to hold, and this is with 3 clubs. So then you can imagine, okay, how many grips are there with 4 clubs in one hand? So for 7 club jugglers. And when you think about this question, you'll understand that a tutorial of how to hold the clubs isn't really necessary. It could maybe give you some ideas of what's probably not going to work, but it has to be something that you figure out for yourself. This is really important with 4 clubs and more in one hand. You have to figure it out for yourself. What works for you? You have the answer and nobody else. Because I have been using this grip. So the circus grip, but instead of putting it here, I put it here. This is also what I do with my left hand. So this was my grip. Actually in the beginning when I started, I did like this because this was easier, but then somebody showed me the circus grip and I started doing that. But yeah, this has basically always been my grip. And then when I was 12 years old, that's when I started working on getting the flash with 7. After some months, the pattern started to look like a real 7 club pattern. And I remember one of the days, I felt like, okay, this is the day I can do it. And then I had this grip. An extension to that would be just putting it on here.
Right.
That club, this club, and then this club. But the thing with that grip, at least for me as a 12-year-old, put a lot of strain on my wrists. So that day, I tried 7 clubs for 30 minutes, which was probably 3 or 4 times longer than I had ever done before. And I got injured. So it took 1 month before I could juggle again, but that was only rings. In the beginning, I could juggle rings because it was really hurting here, but not here. And when I did rings, I didn't really feel that. So rings went well after a month. And then I could started doing balls. And then after 2 months, I could started doing 6 clubs again. And then eventually practice 7. So I was out for quite some time because of the big gap in the amount of practice with 4 clubs in one hand because I wasn't used to it. And this was something that I really kept in mind while trying to get the 9 club flash. Because, I have to talk about my 4 clubs in one hand grip first before I move on to 9, so that I could show you why it was real important for me to keep the thought of injuries in mind. So I switched with my right hand. I switched from this grip to this grip, the normal circus grip, and that's what I do now.
Now, why does that help prevent injury?
That hasn't really done a lot.
Okay.
No. But this thing has. So instead of having the 4th club like this, which makes me use a lot of my muscles here, I just have it here. And then instead of putting the 4th club here, which works, I would say, I put it here. So I don't know if you could see it, but I have the circus grip, and then I put it in between club number 2 and not club number 3.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see here as well, the first club is the longest away from me, then the second, then the third, and then the last one is closest to me. That's that general rule again.
Yeah.
So this was my grip. And then when I wanted to do 9 clubs, I had to figure out a grip for 5. And the best way for that would be an extension of my 4-club grip.
Right.
Yeah, and just to mention it, when I switched to this grip instead of this grip, it only hurt my thumb a little bit in the beginning because it was straining my thumb a lot more than usual, but it didn't really hurt these areas, my wrists. And just after some time, my thumb got stronger, and it really isn't a problem.
Right. That's really interesting that just the way that you hold the clubs could actually changes the torque or the amount of torque that gets put on your wrist.
Yeah.
It's not something
you can do a lot.
You don't think about. At least I haven't thought about it, but I imagine that's something that people like you have to think about a lot.
Yeah. And so when I do 5, okay, let's try and show this. So I have my 4-club grip, and I put it here. And to get the extension to the 5-club grip, I take my thumb and I wrap it around this 4-club. So not squeezing them together, but having the same grip, but only taking my thumb around. So that the grip now is exactly the same as it was before. And then I have 2 free fingers here. They were holding here, but now they're here. And then I put the last club here. Again, the 5th club is the longest away from me. So then when I throw this club, I just switch from my thumb to my pinky and index finger. And you see the clubs, they don't change position. And then I have my normal 4-in-1 hand grip.
Mm-hmm.
And you see this grip really puts a lot of tension on my wrists.
Yeah.
A lot more than this grip.
Right.
With 4, a lot more.
Probably has to do too with you have the additional weight of that 5th club, plus that 5th club is extending even further.
Yeah. And then also you have to throw it faster, you have to throw it higher. It's not good for wrists, not at all. And in the beginning, I did 4 or 5 attempts maximum with 9 clubs, maximum. And this was, just before EJC 2016.
Okay.
Or, let's see. No. That was when I started practicing it. Let's see. Maybe I have to go a little bit more back in time. But yeah, let's say the beginning of 2016. So then it was around 6 to 10 attempts maximum each practice. And it stayed like this for a long time period because I felt like when I got to that amount of attempts, it started hurting. So I always tried to push myself to do 9 clubs as long as I could without getting an injury, because that would be the way to build up my strength the fastest. And then eventually I got longer and longer practice sessions with 9 clubs, and eventually I could do over half an hour with 9 clubs without any problems.
That's impressive.
And that's basically how it is now. Yeah. So I also remembered to practice 5 in my left hand as well. I was trying 5 clubs in my left hand, 5 clubs in right hand, because I knew that this would be a little bit heavier than just the normal 9 club cascade. And it will also be really good strength training for my left hand as well in the future, and also for 9 clubs in general. So that's really important to build up your strength and not put that much strain on your wrists before you're ready, because then you're going to get injured. Yeah, without a doubt.
Totally. So what do you think with all these different various grips? I mean, obviously, as far as preventing injuries, you got to find a grip that doesn't put strain on your wrist. So that might actually, when you get into higher numbers of clubs, that might limit the amount of grips you can do.
Yeah.
You also have to do it slow so that you're not injuring yourself. But how does somebody go about finding their perfect grip?
That's testing and failing, I guess. But yeah, with clubs, I've had 3 different grips. With rings, I've had 3 different grips. With balls, at least for 9 plus or 5 plus in one hand, I've had 2 different grips. So with rings, I remember the first grip I had. It was kind of funny because the first 3 rings I got, they were looking like this when they came in the package I got. Okay, so they were 24 centimeters rings, and I was like, okay, they came like that. That's probably the grip. I didn't know. So
That's funny.
my grip was like this, a finger in between here. So on the straight line. And when I started doing 5, it was like this. Okay, so this ring. And then eventually I was like, this gave me so many bruises here and here. So eventually I switched to this. So I kept the same grip with my first 2, but not this one. And then I met, two of the first good jugglers ever that I met. Sondre Øverby and Iver Nesbø, not Iver Tronstad. And then Iver Nesbø said to me, okay, you have this grip. Why not just do this? I was like, that's clever. Yeah, okay. So I started doing that. And then later on, I met Christian. I've been practicing with Christian a lot. And then he shows me, no, you're not going to hold them like this. You're going to have your pinky first and change it to this one. So now I'm doing this. So now I have here. Let's see. It's maybe a little bit dark, but anyway. So 1 ring, and then I have put all my fingers out except my pinky. Have it here. Then all the other fingers out except my index, and then only my my what's it called? Everything is index finger. So that's 4 in one hand, right there. You see?
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So nothing special. And then for the 5th one, I take here my thumb and I wrap it around. Okay. So it's really a logical grip. Nothing special with that switch here or anything. It's the first finger, then the second, then the third, then the fourth, and then the 5th.
But you still had to go through a process of trial and error to figure that out. So
yeah, a lot of try and error, and I've been also trying to figure out how to do 6 in one hand, because oh wow, I forgot his name. The flat front guy, Nikola Gerasimov. Yeah. So I don't know if you've seen him, but he does 11 rings on stage from his hands.
I have not seen it, but that sounds impressive.
That's a juggle you need to see. Nikola Gerasimov is insane. He does 7 clubs like this, like this crazy pattern. So he angles the clubs like this when he throws. So sometimes when he does 5 clubs and then goes into back crosses, you can't see it that it was a back cross because it looked the same. And then he also does 11 rings like this, and he does a pole balance with 10 rings in flat fronts on stage.
Man. I've got to see this.
Yeah, and 9 rings with a ball bounce is totally insane. And when I tried to figure out the grip, it was kind of hard, but I tried to look close on his videos, but they always switched angles right before he did it.
It's like a trade secret.
Yeah. So this is with 5, and then I thought, okay, let's push that ring all the way up, okay? And then have the 6th one here. So I have 2 on my thumb. So the 6th ring on the end of my thumb, and then on the middle of my thumb, I have the 5th ring resting.
Right.
So that's a really hard grip.
Yeah.
But
so you have to get that first ring the highest, and you also are holding on to it the least.
Yeah, with the thumb.
Right.
So I'm not sure if I'm going to practice. I've tried it sometimes, but I'm not sure if that's what it does. But it's a big possibility, I think.
He's got strong thumbs. That's the...
Yeah, he does. If that's the grip, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think that we've taken enough of your time. This has been really interesting. Just it's funny how you can take like any part of juggling, and really get in depth on it, and it's
Yeah.
so interesting. So, thanks for sharing your thoughts on grips and preventing injuries and kind of exploring what your personal grip is. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And thanks to everybody else for watching this bonus interview just for you. Give Eivind a huge thank you, and go follow him on Facebook and YouTube, and he'll love you forever too, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Until next time, keep on juggling.